Hey everybody, welcome to Hear Us Out. I am Patrick.
And I'm Paul. How's it going?
Very good, my friend. And we are talking about something that will either get lots of interest and lots of anger and lots of hate and lots of love, or something that no one will want to touch because they're just sick of talking about it. But really, when we talk about kick-ass women in the history of Hollywood through the lens of how much hate Captain Marvel and the Marvels is getting right now, please stick with us because we're not going to mess around with this. We're not here with an agenda either direction, just looking at why people are having some of the reactions they're having, but really having some good fun looking at the history of kick-ass women in cinema, Paul, because it's not a new thing. Excuse my hiccups. It's not a new thing.
No, not at all. Like this is it's a confusing subject in the sense of kind of where this growing hatred has started to come up more and more in recent history. And whereas if we look back on the history of cinema, there's plenty of examples of strong kind of lead actiony kind of heroes who are women. So we don't really understand the hatred. Like
No.
we
I have
so
a few
through
theories
the
though, and we'll get to those theories. And Paul, I think that's where
yeah
let's kick into it. The
yeah
Marvels is out. It's out right now. Essentially, its premiere is coming out for everywhere tomorrow, but it's had its premiere and it's been out in places right now. So you could technically see it in the cinema tonight in a lot of places. So why is the Marvels of interest in this topic? Well, the Marvels is essentially Captain Marvel 2, except it's not. And why that matters is because, which we'll talk about later, Captain Marvel was one of those comic book movies that made 1 billion. Lots of people liked it, lots of people didn't like it, but it really brought a whole section of society out to review bomb it before they saw it. Rotten Tomatoes had to change their system because of it. There was a lot of hate and a lot of creation of phrases like M-She-U, obviously woke and
yeah
all that other crack started coming up. We can go into why people hated it, but Paul, can we take 2 minutes to talk about the Marvels? So the Captain
yeah
Marvel 2, the sequel that isn't a sequel, because I don't know if it's
yeah
going to be any good. I really don't. I hope it's good.
yeah. Like that's the thing. We need to split this kind of down the middle. Um, Legitimate concerns about how the movie's going to actually be
Yep.
are understandable. We're not going to we're not here to criticize anyone who's going to be like,
Yeah.
I don't know if Brie Larson was the correct Captain Marvel for actual reasons. I don't know if putting all the Marvels together at this point was a good idea within the Marvel kind of universe for this phase. Kind of like legitimate reasons why this movie, like Patrick and I have talked about how this movie seems to be kind of being laid out to kind of be kind of in an area in which it's at a time period in which movies don't really do well.
Yeah.
It feels like it's following in the footsteps of Ant-Man and kind of like it's being released just to kind of take some flack for some other movie that might be coming out
It's had a
in a couple
terrible
of
marketing campaign. Like it doesn't. I don't have massively high hopes, except for the fact that I genuinely liked the first film. Watched it again recently, liked it even more. I've liked it more with every rewatch. Miss Marvel, the TV show, which Iman Vellani played Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, you can see on in the bottom corner of the shot. I think she's amazing. We've talked about this on the channel before. The best thing for me about this movie at all, no matter how good or bad it turns out to be, is I'm really glad she's getting her shot. I'm really
yeah
glad she's getting her shot to go from TV to movie because she's genuinely likable. But also, I thought her performance in Miss Marvel was very good, and it's one of the better Disney Plus TV shows. Having said all that, during an actor strike when they couldn't do PR, who knows what kind of if this thing opens to 50 million, which will be seen as a massive financial failure, who knows if she would have added another 10 or 15 just by being out there on the PR circuit and could have changed the fate of this movie. I don't know. And I don't think it's important that anybody gets into it. Some other people are thinking that it's very important to get into some of these things about, does it really matter? Is this just a film for girls? Blah, blah, blah. The whole Barbie thing all over again. And Paul, like you say, in our defense, one thing I can say for sure, 2016 Ghostbusters, or as a lot of people call it, the female Ghostbusters movie, it was a bad movie.
yeah
It wasn't well done. We've said that a lot. But what we've also had to say at the same time is, I didn't think it was a very good movie. I didn't think it was well made or well finished. I happen to love all of the cast. and I do not blame them. So the people that came out and said it's going to be terrible and it's because it's all womeny stuff, just because they turned out to be right that it wasn't a good movie, doesn't mean that they were right for the right reasons, and that's the key difference.
Yeah, a broken clock can be right twice a day. So
yeah, and apparently an asshole can be right at least once as well.
Yeah, so this is the thing is the Marvel films, the Marvel the Marvel film might not be good. It might be a dud, but it is not just because the lead actors are female. Like anyone whose argument is just like, I just don't think that like the three leads are going to be very good. I don't think they can carry the movie because, and if the next sentence is because I don't believe that they're very strong actors, because individually and together it might be a bit of a concoction or mess kind of thing, and it's because they're female. That's your red flag. There is just going to be like, no, the conversation's now done. You've completely bombed your own. Like I'm no longer listening to you because that's just not the case. We've had plenty of female-led action films in the past who've been absolutely stellar. Like and that's the funny thing is, some of them, the movie's not very good.
Yeah,
but they've been excellent in it. True. So like, it's kind of like this big, kind of like, yeah, it's not. You're just being you're just being an asshole.
So I think it's safe to say, Paul, without anybody out there having to do any internet research, they're going to have come across a lot of the people that we're talking about. And I can do impersonations of at least 3 to 4 other YouTube channels that will have given it a go to be like, oh, M-She-U, blah, blah, blah. Or, hey, here we are and this is big. We're back at the Marvel woke, go broke, blah, blah, blah. Don't really care. It's not about politics for me. All of this is about, is it a good movie or is it a bad movie? There are a lot of people that wish it to be a bad movie. I wish it to be a good one because I like all movies to be good movies because I have to sit through them when I watch them. But specifically, Paul, the same people who don't get it, and this is where we can maybe transition away from the Marvels and just talk about, like, how long does anybody really think kick-ass women have been around in the cinema? I've got Princess Leia on screen, Paul. Princess Leia, kick-ass, one of the co-leads of the original trilogy, is, probably the one that I was saddest at their passing, so to speak, when it was portrayed on screen, because the way they killed Han Solo was terrible. It's just, she was awesome.
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher as a person was awesome. Princess Leia was an awesome character. And you don't hear any of these same kind of, I'm calling it out because it's going to come up again later. The 40-something-year-old dudes who do stuff like we're doing right now, who are going, oh yeah, blah, 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 but it's not like back in my day when Leia was cool. Well, actually, if you transported yourself back to being a 40-year-old then, you might have been like, I don't know if I like this, woman with a gun saving them from the trash compactor or getting them into that trash compactor because blah, blah, blah. Like, a lot of these people don't remember that they're okay with it because they were fine with it when they were 14. But now that the world has moved on and they don't feel like they own it as much anymore, they're getting kind of grumpy.
Yeah. This one's a confusing one. Princess Leia is literally the breaking the mold. She is a princess. She is in distress. She is not a damsel in distress, though. Yeah. So, it's kind of like you're breaking the mold here with Princess Leia, kind of like breaking the kind of stereotypical princess kind of needs rescuing thing. The only rescuing she needed was for you to open the door. That's it. Yeah. The rest of it, she was perfectly capable of getting herself out, kind of thing. So, having a problem with essentially the M-She-U or anything like that, or any we're using Marvels as an example, but any of the specific female led kind of actiony kind of films, you can point to Leia and just be like, did you like Leia? Has she been a staple within your culture, within your popular culture for a while?
Was she only inserted to make it commercially viable to sell lunchboxes to? Because let's face it, Star Wars invented the idea of selling lunchboxes to people, and no, Leia wasn't there as a token. So, Paul, you can go back even further. You can go back way back. Gail Davis, Annie Oakley. Trick shot person. You've got people almost 100 years ago showing that we're that this is not a new phenomenon, that women haven't just all of a sudden showed up since comic book movies and started taking female leads. Pam Grier, who wants to fuck with Foxy Brown? Nobody does. She's going to kick your ass. Like, there is a long, long history. And the one that they all jump to because they're like, oh, you see, and this is the bit that annoys me because I've talked about one of my childhood heroes, genuine hero of mine as a child, Sigourney Weaver in Aliens. And all of the same people are like, oh, see, I'm not sexist. I'm not any of this stuff. Like, why couldn't it just be like, you know, like Sigourney Weaver in Alien, she really earned it. Yeah, you know, transport yourself in time, you probably would have had a problem with it too.
Yeah, once it's kind of one of these things where it's not seen as a classic, or because there was so little of essentially science fiction and stuff like that coming out at the time, especially good kind of science fiction. It's kind of a different story. It's just like, oh yeah, everything is cherished.
Yeah.
Like, nostalgia is such a powerful tool to be able to kind of go back on. But it's just like, you're just looking at it at a lens where it's just like, you were a little bit more accepting at the time, kind of thing. You haven't essentially just kind of, I guess, the world has moved on and you haven't followed suit, and you've just decided that this is the weird hill that you're going to die on, which is just like, it's not going to be good. It's just, it's led by women. It's just
you're
like,
going to put a lot of energy into this because when you were 14 and watched Sigourney Weaver kick ass, you didn't have Andrew Tate around to tell you that, oh no, you should have a problem with all this. It's different world, different time, some crazy stuff. But Paul, in Aliens, let's talk about the perfect, because she is used as the foil quite often. Her and Linda Hamilton, who we'll talk about in a moment. Oh, but you see, she went through it in Alien. She survived. And then, in Aliens, driving the loader, she was showing that she could do things, that she could look after herself. She's no, Mary Sue or whatever all this stuff is. And then, she's learning with the Marine. She's getting Hicks to teach her how to defend herself, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, exactly. Now, can you really say that all the movies that you haven't seen, like the Marvels, you have no idea if the female leads in it are going to go through any of those story arcs when you haven't seen the movie yet? So people who use a movie that they've seen way back when as their defense and say, well, you see, it's because that was earned. But in this new movie I haven't seen yet, it's not the same. Without seeing the movie? Really? That's pretty damn brave. Pretty damn brave, son.
Well, like, let's look at the comparison here, because we might as well use Marvel a little bit, or the Marvels a little bit more. Brie Larson's Captain Marvel went through traumatic experience in which she was essentially had to grow and learn to kind of heal about that. Ripley went through a traumatic experience and had to learn and grow and heal. We see, like, both of these things we see all on screen. Like, none of these things are like, out of screen kind of things. Taking on the fact that a soldiery role, a more kind of like independent like role, both of them do it. Like, it's just a weird kind of like, you're literally saying that one's bad than the other because one's newer, I guess. Like if you don't like the actor, then say it. But it better not be because that they're like when I see a film with Mark Wahlberg in it, I'm just like, this is a 50-50 for me. This is, and it's just because Mark Wahlberg is just, to me, kind of like, he plays the same character, and it's not that I don't think he can play that character really well. I just don't know if that character fits into this movie. Right. Like, when I'm looking at, like, Sigourney Weaver or, like, Emma Stone, there you go. I'm not a big fan of Emma Stone, and it's probably because I haven't seen La La Land. But the movies that I've seen her in, she's been it's the teen high schooly kind of thing. I haven't seen her do any kind of more serious things. Right. And that's it. It's literally just like, I haven't seen her do anything that I'd be more interested in. Zombieland is good. She's a little bit more kind of actiony, kind of independent character there. But, like, nothing else is that far. But, like, that's a logical kind of, like, yeah, it's just the actor's kind of, like, career or the way that they act or something like that. It's not the fact that they're a woman. Or like, or a man. Or it can be completely unreasonable, like me and somebody who was actually in Captain Marvel, and it didn't put me off too much.
what's his face?
Jude Law.
Thank
Yeah.
you. We've spoken before that I would like to become Jude Law's friend just so I can apologize to him for having an irrational dislike to him on screen, because the guy can act. I just don't feel it, and I don't know why, and it's not on him. But Paul, I think if people want to get the message and they haven't got it already now, to those people who are all like about stuff, maybe it's not that film has changed. Maybe it's you that's changed. Because Sigourney's back on screen and you were fine with her. And let's face it, Paul, I'm just using this as a moment to say, because we never get to talk about this on the channel, one of my favorite moments in cinema history is Sigourney Weaver being a badass in only the way that she could be. And when I say she, I mean she, in the situation where she's facing off against the Queen, and she does the head tilt.
Yeah.
The head tilt and then just burns all. One of the coolest moments in the history of action movies. And it doesn't involve a punch or a one-liner or anything. It's just oh yeah, it's on now. It's on. Like, just purely amazing. Sorry, I got that in.
It's a great scene. It's one of the best ones. It's the understanding of the fact that the Queen is trying to trick them. It's a great scene. I think the reason why there's people out there who have a problem with female like characters is because that they can't connect with them. Okay? Now,
Right.
this is the thing. But this is the thing. They're going at us, firstly, that it's a female character,
Mm-hmm.
and then that it's a character. So they've got that barrier there that they're kind of like they've decided to put in front of them. So like I can't connect with certain parts of a story that a female actor might have, but there's a lot of stuff there that I can connect with. I can connect with. I'm alone on a spaceship and I'm being chased by a scary monster. I'm scared. I could be just like, yeah, I've turned off the lights in the kitchen and then ran up the stairs like a child, and I'm 35. Like, so I get the darkness is scary and the creatures and the weird night things.
Yeah.
Like the motherhood thing with her and Noose, with Ripley, her and Noose, I'm not going to get. I could get fatherhood type things, but I'm not going to get the motherhood type things. But I always think that people who hate on female characters is the fact that they immediately put up that barrier of, oh, I can't connect to this character because they're a woman. And it's just like, are you looking at the character and looking at the things that they're going through and not being able to connect the things that a human person is going through?
But
Is it just because you've just put up that shield and you're just like, no, I can't connect with them?
there's an insane irony or double standard to this, that a lot of the same people who would do that, and I think you are right, are the same ones that if you said to them, so what you're saying is you need to see yourself represented on screen so that you can make that connection. Yeah. So when people talk about representation and needing to see more people of color, more women, more, more people of all sexualities, etc., and they go, oh yeah, well no, that's all just woke stuff where representation doesn't matter, and they all just want quotas and that. Whoa. A minute ago, you were writing things off because it's a film for girls, by girls, made for girls, and I'm not a girl. Well, then how do you marry those two viewpoints together? Oh, we don't need representation, yet you need representation for yourself. It's a good one. That's a nice little bow they tied themselves up in.
It's a double standard that they just seem to have, in the sense that it's just like, I can't connect because I'm not represented. And it's just like, yeah, but I don't want more representation. It's just like, okay, so like, okay.
And I've already, run along the edge of getting myself in trouble with the internet, but I'm not embarrassed to say what I think when I say, when it comes to representation, I believe it's important. But when it comes to storytelling, I believe you have to tell the story in the way that you want to and are going to tell a story. If you put love, care, intention, and art into something, it will work, and it should work. And if you can do it well enough, I don't mind if you use 3 white straight guys if that's what your story needed. But I also don't mind if you use 3 people in wheelchairs if that's what your story needed. Maybe it was about, wheelchair basketball. It's not like, oh, look at this, it's a film for people. Like, whoa. And why that cannot get through to these people who are like, they're ruining movies by, it's all gone woke now, blah, blah, blah. I just don't get it, why they're so myopic and just pick their lane to be frustrated by. And Paul, because we got to temper out my anger and then, come back to it. Let's talk about somebody amazing. Linda Hamilton. the other person who's used as the excuse. Oh, well, I loved Linda Hamilton. She was amazing. She was a damsel in distress in Terminator 1. But she was a cool damsel in distress because it made sense for the story. And you got to see her growth, yes. But by the time Terminator 2 came around, she kicked my ass just by looking at me.
Yeah. No, like that.
And that didn't bother anybody.
Yeah, and Linda Hamilton's actually the one that I talked about in the sense that it's actually she's a great character in a bad movie, because in Dark Fate, she's a great character. She's Linda Hamilton. She's what you could say, Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
Like through and through. That film's not great. She's greatness. And it's just like, there you go. A female character can be great in a movie, that isn't great. And like you still like most people don't seem to have an issue with Linda Hamilton, like, you know, his character. But it's just weird. It's literally just the newer. Why is newer now seen as kind of like nah kind of thing? My favorite, this is a little tidbit, but my favorite thing is that they had to go through the shot in Dark Fate of her on the highway. They had to do that so many times because Linda Hamilton couldn't stop smiling and laughing because she was having so much fun.
She enjoys pyrotechnics and action. Good on her.
So, but like, why is it that these characters are so masculine, that they're so, like, they become so masculine? Is it that the reason maybe that they could be more, I guess, approachable for these people? Or is the fact is that it is still nostalgia kind of thing? I have a theory about the kind of like how far you go into kind of like them more portraying kind of, but Lynn Hamilton and Ripley kind of break that mold with the sense that they're slight damsel in distresses at the start of their story and then become heroes. There are other characters who are more kind of like, they're just straight up like badasses,
out of the box badasses. Well, actually, Paul, because I want to get to your theory, and I think we've got a pretty good representation of that coming up. So, just one quick thing on Terminator. Damsel in Distress doesn't cover it even for the first film, by the way, because I still say every time I watch Terminator, you can see that Sarah Connor's actually got a hell of a lot of backbone from the first time you meet her. It's just not in the traditional action trope. But by the end, when she is in a lot of pain, dragging herself through and giving, and I used a GIF, again, giving one of my favorite moments, when it's you're terminated, effer. Like kick ass, just kick ass.
Yeah.
But Paul, along the way, you've got people that everybody forgets that there was plenty of acceptance of other kick ass female characters. Gina Davis has multiple, but she specifically, her and Susan Sarandon had a female led movie where Gina Davis they both became really kick ass. And, you know, it told a story. And there was a little bit of farting around and a little bit of outrage for the time, but not a whole lot. I lived through that period. It wasn't like it would be today. Long Kiss Goodnight, you know, through and through action movie. It's not like people haven't been making female-led action movies.
No, it is bizarre. Like, I think we need to go to an ad first, but then we'll be back to talk more about this topic. Which is,
We'll see you in 30 seconds. Bye-bye. But Hear Us Out isn't the only choice. You should check out our friends over at It Takes Two podcast. It's a podcast where two people take two films with the same plot or premise, watch and discuss them. Films like Gremlins and Critters, or The Truman Show on EdTV. Lisa and Nick don't stop there though. They get creative and compare some unexpected movies. Some that you don't see the connection until you realise that they can be described in the same way. They launch new episodes every second Tuesday, or Monday if you're in New Zealand. Find them on your favourite podcast service, or check the link in our description down below. That's It Takes Two podcast. Tell them Hear Us Out sent you. Hey everybody, you should go check out It Takes Two. Great podcast. Paul, we've got to update some of our advertising for our good friends, including your good friends over at D&D, over at Homebrew, the D&D channel. I tripped over myself there trying to think of who I was going to mention next. Sorry. Anyway, Paul, back to us. Back to this. Please go for it.
Brew, I was actually going to say, Brew in the chat actually comes up with a big thing. The Walking Dead has a few strong female characters, and I don't remember outrage about them. this is the thing, which we'll talk about more. It's the fact is that it's led. Co-stars don't seem to have an issue, as in like if you have co-led female characters, it is kind of a given the fact that women will be part of the kind of ensemble kind of group. So like it's accepted that there'll be strong characters and strong female characters within an ensemble group. It's once it gets led, seemingly is the where the kind of it draws the line, which is weird because it's it's weird because like Black Widow is the perfect example of this in the sense that everybody loves her as a co-star. Everybody loves her as a co-character, co-lead, everything like that. The second she gets her own movie. Now, once again, this movie's not great, but the outrage that was happening, like so we also need to talk about, there was two types of outrage. The first outrage was, why wasn't there a female-led Marvel movie up to this point? That's an understandable anger about representation of why there wasn't any. The other side of that coin was, so why are we getting a female-led Marvel movie? And you're just like, okay, you people are wrong. But it's just like, so did you have a problem with her in like any of the other films? Were you sitting there going like, oh, this agent, this Black Widow agent, I just hate her. Like, no, you weren't. You're just like, Scarlett Johansson's grace is Black Widow, as which was Romanoff. She's great. She's great. The second she gets her like own movie, like you're on the warpath, and it's just like, no, why? Like, what is once again? Have you been Have you been going like, that character is just, I can't connect with them, but I like them being there because they're co-stars kind of thing. And then the second that there's no one else on thing, you're just like, well, who else in this movie can I need to gravitate towards? And you're just like, David Harbour. It's just like, no, come on. Like,
yeah. Well, Paul, there are, and again, not naming names, but there are people who you can go back and watch their YouTube history where when Scarlett Johansson was introduced as Natasha Romanoff in Iron Man 2 and Tony Stark giving it the full-on I want one, they were fine with Sexy Secretary. Then they were fine with Spandex Kickass. Then they were fine with, oh, okay, she's female Avenger, and they didn't even bother bringing up that she happened to be female. She was just an Avenger. People were too busy making jokes about Hawkeye then, to be fair. Sorry, Hawkeye. But strange how those very same people, if you watch their arc then to much later on, like you say, by the time Black Widow was finally getting the long overdue solo movie, it's like, oh, look at this. Service to the feminists or whatever. Why would we have this? Oh, it's awful. Yet no, and these are the same people that along the way were going, yeah, Scarlett Johansson's great. Scarlett Johansson's brilliant. What a great Avenger. Love Black Widow. And then it comes to, oh, her own film. And what, there's other female leads? Oh my God. What's all this? Yelena Belova? Blah, 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 blah. The double standard is recorded. It's recorded for everybody to see.
Yeah.
So, and Brew, just on that idea that when we say female lead, we mean like the star. So who's leading who's the title on the poster in this case? Who's the front and center star of the show?
Yeah. Like people liked Maggie in Walking Dead, like running Hilltop, but like the second that it's no longer becomes The Walking Dead, it's, Maggie, the leader of Hilltop, people are going to be like, yeah, I don't know if I like this film, like this show anymore. And it's just like, okay, where's the change? You're literally still watching zombies and people surviving. What's your difference? So like, Black Widow. Look, Black Widow wasn't the greatest movie. It felt a little bit late of when it should have probably come out. But listen, it gave us Florence Pugh. Yeah. Like, what the hell do you want more? Her, like, Florence Pugh has been amazing within the Marvel Universe, which is in Hawkeye and everything like that. And don't understand, like...
Is it better than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania? Yes. Yes to these questions. So, we're okay, pretty low bar, but, like, not the worst MCU film.
No.
So, come on. And Paul, I'm actually going to push you towards something else that I know you've got a good point on, if that's okay. Just because I think it's a good transition to how the Jessica Jones, as an example, is another way that people are like, okay, well, I'm fine with you as a lead as long as it's not too in my face or it's going to bother me too much. And when Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Iron Fist, the Defenders, as it was happening on Netflix, everybody was so happy because Daredevil was so good. And
Yeah.
everybody was really happy when the quality was kept up with Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
Didn't hear huge complaints about, oh, why is this so female centric?
No, and my like this is where I was coming from with Linda Hamilton and Rip or Sigourney Weaver's eventuality into the action thing. Jessica Jones is so badass and like playing more kind of masculine tropes that I feel like it's like slightly more that wall of like connectivity between the like people who have a problem with female like things is a little bit broken down. It's just like, oh well, she's like a bit of a badass. She's like likes to fight. She quicks to anger kind of thing. She's more kind of direct actiony kind of person, and she enjoys like sex. So like she is playing more of a kind of like what would be deemed as kind of a more kind of like masculine tropes kind of character. Is that why like you're so easier to kind of connect with this person and be just like, yeah, they're fine, they're grand, kind of thing? Because there was no rumble, there was hardly any rumble about Jessica Jones like coming out,
No.
going like, oh, it's a female character led kind of thing. I don't really want to watch. It's just like,
Yeah, there was
is it
no,
because
it's
she's
made
just
for
a badass?
girls. There was none of that, it's made for girls stuff. Even though, honestly, I watched it and I loved it. I at no point disassociated the character from being female. I thought it was very much about the female experience from an outside point of view for me. So, it's a good one, Paul. And I think,
Like,
oh, sorry, go for it.
I was going to say, bringing in the Purple Man, like,
Mhm.
which is David Tennant's character, is just an incredible kind of thing of like really slamming home the fact that it is a female character, just
It's an
because
abusive
she's,
relationship.
yeah, it's a abusive relationship, which statistically is more female, like male, kind of dominated
Yeah.
than female. So like it, like I don't like, yeah, when people are just like, yeah, I can relate more with her because she's a badass, and they're just like, no, she's she's a very well-rounded character, like an amazingly rounded character. Just because she wears leather and kicks ass doesn't mean that she's like, you're just like, yeah, she gets a pass, and it's just like,
Yeah.
no, you can't do this.
Well, these folk do seem to like catchy little rhymes or plays on words like MCU and all that stuff. So I'll just say she's kick ass and they're dumbass. So of course there's going to be an affinity there. But Paul, and again, just want to bring up some of the elephants in the room. She-Hulk.
Yeah.
She-Hulk, I want to be very, very clear, was not as good as it should have been or needed to be. I have defended it previously, and while it
Mhm.
was going on, Paul, I was even defending it to you and with you, and you were defending it back to me and pulling it apart. We both had some very kind of sad conversations because it wasn't as good as it needed to be. It wasn't as bad as it's being made out to be, is the other end of that sentence. But it was really strange to me that She Hulk got all of the real hate when WandaVision had happened. And WandaVision was the first of the Marvel Disney Plus shows. And Wanda was a lead who was obviously like, she was evil. She was actually evil. There's somebody who's actually doing evil. Okay, I thought WandaVision was great and explained why and gave motivation to the character, etc., etc. But why people reacted to WandaVision one way from this particular group and to She-Hulk another way. You'll notice the way I said She-Hulk. Oh, it's not funny enough. It's a comedy. It's not funny enough. Hey, oh, these references and talking about what it's like to be a woman. Sure, some of it was laid on a little thick. Look at WandaVision again, a TV show that I maintain is still the best that Marvel's done in the TV realm.
Mhm.
You can find problems there too. You can find a lot of problems there too, particularly towards its ending. But people don't. But they do not ever run out of steam for going, oh, She-Hulk, there you go. There's my example. It's easy to say. She was in the name. And sure, there's only one Hulk and he's a boy like me.
It's, yeah. is this the easy is for you? Do you feel that this is the easy out for complaining about a show? I have problems with She-Hulk in the sense that I believe that the story, like story lent on named people, like known named people already. I believe that that character and her story could be definitely told with less um nods to the greater kind of wider
Yeah.
universe. I definitely think Wong and the which is is it Blankoff the Abomination?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Definitely deserve to be in there.
yeah.
They're fun characters to be there. They're side characters. Having so much of the Hulk in there was a bit much, and I do believe that the ending was a little kind of mixed around kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's all story. It's all
Yeah.
story that I have problem with. All the way that they did it. That I think that they betrayed like uh not Ragnarok, Thor Love
Thor,
and
Love
Thunder.
and Thunder.
Which is Natalie Portman's character,
Mhm.
which is I believe that she was not well represented because the hammer was changed to
Yeah.
protect her. That's why she becomes Thor. It's just like no, Jane Foster is an amazing full-on character that definitely is definitely worthy of the hammer.
We've had this
Like
conversation. I cannot remember
yeah,
if it was on air, but I really
yeah,
hope it was, because if it wasn't, say it again, because you're right.
but it's the fact is that in Thor: Love and Thunder, Thor gets drunk, worried about Jane Foster, tells the Hammer that he needs to or the Hammer should protect her, which changes the spell on it, in which she's allowed to then carry it. She's definitely a worthy character,
Yeah.
other than the fact that Thor decided that he wanted to protect her. And it's just like no, what you've done there is you've definitely belittled that character's like story in the fact that the spell has been altered. That character's well worthy outside of what you wanted to do with it, kind of thing. And it's just like, yeah, I have a like, but as a person, I can definitely relate to a character who's like sick and needs protecting and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And then I'm angry about the fact that this magical hammer's spell's been changed because this character's like whole story arc was their growth and stuff like that. And it's just like, but when you put in the fact that they're female, it's just like you've lost me completely.
And
Where is it so easy to derail you, like, or to derail it by just going, yeah, but it's a female led. It's different. I don't like it. It's
and again,
not me.
not a great movie. It's a movie that we pulled apart in many different directions. And Paul, I'm gonna speed round some of this a little bit, if that's okay, because I want to get to the comments, and then we've got a bit of a conclusion to draw, particularly going back to Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, and Photon. So the Marvels, and particularly Captain Marvel. So very quickly, Wonder Woman, great example. I don't know if anybody remembers the wonderful hubbub about people saying, "Oh, they're making a Wonder Woman movie. It's great," and then some people had an issue that they were like, "I don't know if Gal Gadot's got the cleavage to pull this off." It's like the cleavage or the acting ability. Okay, strange that some of those people would then be back around Wonder Woman 2 when it wasn't a good film, Wonder Woman 1984, saying some weird stuff about how it was all about wokeness then. It was weird. They were fine with Wonder Woman the movie because it was actually too good for them to deny. Third
Yeah.
act accepted. We all know that fight at the end was a bit of a mess. But Paul, speed round. Katniss Everdeen, Arya Stark. There you go.
Yeah.
A little psycho. I don't care what anybody says. Arya Stark, not a hero. That's a disturbed child with a sword. Katniss Everdeen put in a very, very difficult situation. These are the people we're talking about. It's not new. It's been done in all sorts of ways. Paul, between Mila Jovovich and Kate Beckinsale, can't even go into Jolt and all of the other random things that these two have done. And I forgot we should have added Aeon Flux and Atomic Blonde herself here. Charlize Theron.
Theron. Yeah.
Like,
Old
again,
guard.
there you go. How much kick-ass can you get? Nobody's got a problem with Selena Kyle jumping off a building, doing a cool leather landing, and then going on making everybody understand that the word lichen meant werewolf, and then getting increasingly bad in the movie stakes. But not a big deal. Everybody loved it back then. Emily Blunt. Everybody forgets that Edge of Tomorrow, amazing film. Emily Blunt was not just some side kind of character. She was one of the main characters. Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt. Emily Blunt kicked ass in the exoskeleton and didn't lose femininity, for anybody who's got that whole theory. She showed that the best way to be kick ass was Pilates. They didn't show her lifting weights. They showed her being kind of extremely fucking scarily flexible and still looked like she could tear your head off.
Like in her fight scene in Edge of Tomorrow is very kind of like fluid and motion, like, dangerous.
Yep.
Great. Her name is the Full Metal Bee and the Angel of Busan, I believe.
That's it. Kick ass characters left, right, and center. But Paul, what I'm rushing to get to is very quick side stop. A little theory I want to posit: Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Mm-hmm. We've talked before, and this could hurt. So please don't get mad at me. This theory applies to us all. There was a time when nerds didn't rule the earth. I know we've all forgotten that now. We have forgotten that there was a time when D&D wasn't cool. Comics weren't cool. Pretty much everybody wasn't trying to co-opt nerd culture, so much so that nerd culture doesn't even exist anymore as a phrase, because now it's just culture. Buffy was one of the seminal TV shows along the way. Happened to be female-led. That's it. Just happened to be. Great show, in my opinion. I flaming loved it. But a lot of the same dudes that are sitting there today on their YouTube channels going, I really hope that the Marvels fail because I hate Brie Larson. She said something about 40-year-old white dudes once that I've never forgotten. I hope it fails. I'm not going to see it, but I'm going to tell you it's going to be crap. A lot of those people were really, really happy watching Buffy 25 years ago and recognizing themselves being shown on screen in various different ways, and particularly rooting for a hero that, for those guys, as you pointed out, they couldn't directly identify with, but they could definitely see some nerd culture. They could see themselves in Willow. They could see themselves all over the place in that show. And again, has Buffy changed? No. To each one of these dudes, I'd say, the world hasn't changed. You have. You've forgotten that it's not about being angry and hating things. You've forgotten that it's not about getting views by having contrarian opinions. You've forgotten that you're supposed to enjoy things, and to critique something doesn't mean that you then become something because of it. Oh, you're defending the Marvels. You must be a feminist. Oh, what? No, if I'm talking about the Marvels, next time we talk about it, I'm going to be saying whether it's good or bad because I've seen it. And if it's good or bad does not change anything about anything that we've said here tonight.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. I did want to say, if it's bad, you're still not right.
Yeah.
Like if it's good, you're still not right. It doesn't matter which way the film is. Like if the film's good or bad, you can't be like, well, I was right because it's a female. It's just like, no, you have to look at it as a critiquer and be like, the story wasn't strong enough, the characters weren't strong enough, you know, like there was too much subplots, too many kind of like actiony parts, that kind of made the main plot flourish, or it was confusing or so. Like it can't be that it's just like, it's just my insecurity of not understanding the world, and I don't want things to change because it's just, I don't want to have to grow as a person. So it's women. I'm like, you don't get to win. Like it's the same thing as we were saying before with the 2016 Ghostbusters. It was a bad film. You're not right because you were just like, it's going to be a bad film because it's female. It's like, no, it was a bad film because of writing.
It was badly edited, badly written, badly done.
Yeah. So you don't get to go up in your goddamn hill and be like, I was right. It's just like, no, you weren't. You're still a bad person. Like, just stop.
So looking at the clock, Paul, I'm gonna throw in, for anybody who's watched up until this point, let's circle back to the Marvels, and then if it's okay with you, we'll finish out in the comments, because I really want to give time to the great commenters who've been adding comments live. So from Buffy, Paul, let's just call it what it is. People have an issue, or had an issue, at the time of Captain Marvel for multiple reasons. But one of the reasons, and one of the things that really didn't help, and I'm not defending every choice she's made, Brie Larson is a great actress, in my opinion. Brie Larson has said some things that I'm like, I probably shouldn't have said that. And she's been careless with how she's phrased some things. But overall, the one that got her in hot water, and I'm going to throw up some quotes, which you'll unfortunately see on a delay, Paul, but I'll read it out. She went to an event called Women in Film and got up, and made a speech talking about something that was topical at the time. And as part of it, she said, I don't need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work about A Wrinkle in Time. And she went on to say who she thought that movie was for.
Yeah.
That was taken by a lot of 40-year-old white dudes and was like, she hates us. Screw her. To hell with this. I'm going to go and get Captain Marvel. I'm going to review Bromit. Unfortunately, if they'd actually listened to the whole speech, it all came from the idea that if you make a movie, and this, it's a slightly paraphrased quote just for length. If you make a movie that's a love letter to women of color, there's an insanely low chance a woman of color will have a chance to see your movie and review your movie. Because all she was doing was going off some statistics that had come out to say how the review pool showed a certain lack of reflection to the actual pool of humanity in America. So the demographic breakdown. She wasn't saying that she hated white guys. In fact, I think she says 3 specific times, I don't hate white guys. I think she actually has to say that in this speech. But yet, all that point was lost. Do I think that Brie articulated everything perfectly and always has? No. Does anybody? No. The fact that this is behind some of the specific hate for Captain Marvel all this time later is really, really pathetic.
Yeah. The sound bites, the out of context kind of news circle loops of it kind of thing, of it just going into echo chambers, and instead of someone going, well, actually what she was trying to do is point out, representation in the critics and reviewers pool. No, that's not how it works. It's just an echo chamber where it's just like, yeah, she hates 40-year-old women or 40-year-old men. So like, we hate her. It's just like, you gotta stop. You gotta like read everything. Like, take like, if you see a quote, go and read the full thing before you just make a judgment on that soundbite. And you're right. We're part of a podcast or like a show.
Yeah.
We are current our, not our job, but our passion is about talking about movies. We haven't been articulate enough in saying certain things.
I rarely am, Paul. I rarely am. Oh, don't I?
So like, everybody needs a chance of kind of going, well, hang on a second. They may have misspoke. What was their intent? Let's have a look at what the full speech was about, kind of thing. You need to look at the full context and stuff, and then also read between the lines of kind of like, they didn't represent themselves that well, but I get their message.
As a very good friend and musical mastermind that we know would attest with me, because I've had this conversation. There's a thing in music where people will say, oh, that's crap. All the music today is crap. And I've been saying that cinema hasn't changed. You have. You're growing. Well, guess what? Music hasn't changed in that sense. It's just things aren't made for you at all times. So the music that's been made today, some of it is not for me. And I don't mean I don't like it. I mean, it's not aimed at me. They haven't made it thinking, oh, I really hope he likes it. They've made it thinking, there are people alive today who will enjoy me doing this. There may not have been people 30 years ago that have enjoyed it. That musical genre wasn't working then. It's working now. It's why musical genres, same as film genres, can fall in and out of fashion and in and out of popularity. So people who are obsessed with the idea of, oh, I don't like it, sometimes stop and think, are you saying that you don't like it because it's not for you and it's like, oh, I hate that? Or is it because it was actually bad? Because, Paul, we made a deal that we would never, ever, ever review a costume drama on this show because I am so prejudiced against them. And we ended up reviewing one because I went to see Downton Abbey, the movie, and I was like, wow, you know what? I really enjoyed that. It's actually helped me get out of my own feckin' way on this dumbass idea that Gosford Park ruined me years ago when I really wanted to go and see another film in the cinema. Whatever grudge I was holding. A lot of the people we're talking about tonight, and they know who they are out there. Maybe that's what you need to do. Just recognize what it is that's holding you back. Maybe throw yourself into the idea of immersing yourself in some of the better versions of it and see if it snaps you out of your own way.
Yeah, and if your whole thing is that you can't connect with these characters and stuff like that, take it to another level. Connect to the humanity of that character rather than maybe their specific position or difficulties. But look at the humanity of it, of kind of going, I might not be able to identify with any of the things that are going on with this character, the struggles that they might be having, but I can understand as a human how difficult that is. Or I can connect with the story from a human perspective of sense of going like, that is awful, or that is passionate, or that is lovely, or that is happening. Like, just try to go even from that level if you can't, feeling yourself going further than that. But that's everything.
So Paul, let's jump into those comments. Let's see. So we were talking about The Walking Dead, and Brian saying it's also weird. Thank you very much. It is also weird. Hey, welcome,
Punisher.
Pop Culture.
Hey, Pop Culture. The Punisher's kick-ass. I have a hard time relating to him. Yeah. The only part that you can relate to him is he's a pretty cool badass, but he's a psychopath.
Yeah. You probably shouldn't relate too much to him, and if you do, maybe talk to some people, because you don't really want to end up being the Punisher. As cool as some of these characters seem, they're not people you want to be.
He is an anti-hero for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
So Jones is well written. Why we understand her more.
Yep.
But once again, that's a very reasonable understanding of things. A character who's well written is a little bit more. You have the ability to connect with more.
Yeah, but that's pop culture starting from way beyond the dumbass line, saying I can identify more, as opposed to the people who are way below the dumbass line who can't even get past the bottom end of things. Pop Culture says, I'm going to have a hot take. WandaVision is a one-time watch. I'll rewatch She-Hulk again. Yeah, fair play. You know what? I really get that, actually. The issue is I had how much money they spent and know the problems behind the scenes more than the show. Yeah, sometimes the other things around it all can feed into this, and nobody's immune to that. But again, that's a recognizable reason that you can recognize and call out. You're articulating your own situation there, which keeps you well out of the camp of the people we're talking about.
Why though? Just a question. Why do you think WandaVision is not rewatchable?
Well, no, I get it. I get it that She-Hulk's more of a casual rewatchable show, whereas Wanda, for me, ever since Doctor Strange, they took the character and really
One's tainted,
crumpled her up a bit for me. Yeah.
One's tainted the other.
One has tainted the other. Now, don't get me wrong; it doesn't take anything away from WandaVision. It stops me dying to watch it again. Whereas She-Hulk is just that bit more casual because there hasn't been any more.
Mm.
And again, okay. I'll rewatch both, but I can kind of see where, just easier, let's say. Nikita, point of no return. You're talking about kick-ass characters and people there, yeah. And Brian says it's all about the dollars. It's all about the money. I can imagine the full outrage at that comment. Now, I'm not sure what the comment was at the time, but I'm glad you used full outrage, because there is another side to all this, Paul. A lot of these people don't believe what they're saying. A lot of these people know what makes money for them, and they will just keep buying the same drum because they're like, hey, people like a bit of hateful outrage. I can be a hateful shit if I want. So, yeah. Talk about class acts, huh? What have we got there, Paul?
I think so. Not all movies are made for everyone. Toy Story's not bringing in people who only watch action films. Yeah, we get that. There's representation in certain movies and stuff like that, in the sense of like what they're portraying and audiences.
And I think Pop Culture was replying to your question there. Doctor Strange said perfectly. So yeah, I think myself and Pop might be on some of the same sadness after Doctor Strange.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is a shame. It is a shame, but one should never taint the other in reverse. I know, but I'm being honest. Just when it comes to the list of things that I'll jump to rewatch, I'm still not over my
No,
bad feeling yet.
that's completely if if a character gets hard done by in a later season or another show or a spin-off or anything like that, you definitely decide going back and watching the original piece and being just like,
Remember how you felt about what they did to Thor. And yeah.
Yeah.
So, Paul, I'd like to say we have amazing commenters. What I would like to say to
Mhm.
anybody else out there who watches this and particularly sits through it to this point, who may feel that we're just full lefty, Yahoo liberal, whatever the hell words people are using these days. Honestly, go back and have a little look at our track record as far as what we've liked and not liked, what we've agreed on, what we've disagreed on. The measurement metrics are usually nothing to do with any of the things that we've talked about tonight. And that's the difference. I don't think we've ever said that's going to be crap because of something that wasn't, a genuine fear. We've said we're worried that mightn't be good because we hear that the director left halfway through, the studios interfered, and they're going to chop the movie up into pieces. Let's hope it's going to be fine. I don't think we ever have said, I hope that fails because I don't like Jude Law. For all the things I've said about Jude Law, never that.
But like that's the thing. We're coming at this from a completely movie reviewer, movie critiquer, movie lover point of view. The sense of a movie is terrible because of someone being someone is just not a great it's not a great kind of like thing. A movie not being great because of movie reasons, that's where we're coming from in the sense of focus on that. Which is a lot better to you're just there's a faux anger and trying to, bring in dollars and then also being idiots about it. So just focus on the fact you're a movie lover. The reason you like the movie, the reason you don't like the movie should be movie related rather than, or story related, movie related rather than that person has a beard.
Which would disqualify you from watching us. So very sorry to all of you who hate beards. We will shave someday, just not today. And with that said, Paul, like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, give out to us, to your friends, give out about us to your friends. If you can bring more people here, we'd love to hear alternate opinions to our own at all times. Paul, we're not here to change the world. We're here to entertain it. I hope people have enjoyed this. I've certainly enjoyed talking with you. Do you want to give us a little goodbye?
Veganophobe is someone who fears beards. But there you go. Comment down below what you think about what we said and stuff like that. We've been here out. I've been Paul.
I've been Patrick, and we will see you next time, everybody. Bye.